Good afternoon. This is Jade Abashan with KHTS News, and I'm coming to you live from up in the Grapevine, where there has been a deadly officer-involved shooting. We're still looking for more information on this story, and if you'll notice, I'm a little ways away from the actual scene of the incident itself. First things first, you should be aware of the fact that the entirety of the Southbound 5 freeway has been shut down. I repeat, the entirety of the Southbound 5 freeway has been shut down due to an officer-involved shooting north of Castaic. Now, currently, if you want to know where I am a couple miles north of the Templin Highway exit. So if you are looking to travel southbound, unfortunately, at this point, you are out of luck. You're going to have to, if you want to be able to get around the traffic backup that we're seeing on our left here, you're going to have to get off the freeway, I believe at the next exit, which might be Vista del Lago. Now, I am currently about a half mile away from the scene of the incident itself, and part of the reason for that is so that I'm able to actually give this live report and not get pushed away from the scene, especially considering we are way out here. This is several miles north of Castaic and north of the Templin Highway exit from the 5 freeway. The Southbound 5 is completely stopped due to the officer-involved shooting. And as you can see, there is more, sorry, let me pan this real quick. There are more officers over in this area right over here that are working on trying to not only block off the freeway, but investigate the incident itself. Now, we're still looking for information as to what happened, but according to initial reports and what we were hearing over the scanner, which has not been confirmed yet, it is entirely possible that what we are dealing with was a person who was in custody, that was somebody who was being detained, not necessarily arrested. Let me just pan you back over here so you can see the traffic. This is somebody who is being detained, not necessarily arrested, who then managed to escape custody. How are you? I do, it's back at the car. Would you like me to go get it? I'm not going to get any closer. This is as far as I'm going. So what you just heard was me speaking to a sheriff's deputy. As I said, we're not going to get any closer so I can keep on reporting and not get kicked out of here, because let's try to avoid that. It was a bit of a drive up here. Now, we do know that one person has been reported dead due to the incident. However, it is not the deputy. Given what initial reports are, once again, this is not confirmed, initial reports suggest that the person who was killed may have been the person who escaped custody. However, everybody back in the newsroom over at KHTS is working to confirm that information. As of this point, traffic on the northbound 5 is looking pretty good. I can say for myself on my way up here, I had a great drive up. Southbound 5, as you can see, is fully stopped. Southbound 5 is completely stopped. Now, if you guys are having some trouble with the feed, my apologies. We are up here in the Grapevine, so we'll try to get more information as the story progresses. Unfortunately, there's not much I can do about the wind, so I appreciate your patience with that. I will try to repeat the information as much as possible so you can hear it more clearly. As I previously mentioned, we are currently about half a mile away from the scene of an officer-involved shooting that occurred on the Southbound 5 freeway north of Castaic. This is north of Templin Highway. We are still looking for more information. However, initial reports suggest that the incident occurred between a law enforcement officer and somebody who had been in custody and may have managed to escape, at least shortly. This is not confirmed. We're still looking to try to confirm that information as of this time back at the KHTS newsroom. If you are traveling through the area, as I mentioned, and as you can see for yourself, northbound freeway looks fine. It's traveling great. You might have a little bit of a slowdown due to looky-loos, but the Southbound 5 freeway is not looking good right now. It is entirely stopped. We should be having traffic routed out at another exit further up the 5. However, I can't confirm that as of this time. Unfortunately, due to this incident, this is a fatal incident. This is going to take some time to investigate. You may be able to hear the helicopter that is circling overhead. That is a law enforcement officer, I believe the sheriff's department, and the California Highway Patrol are currently investigating this. Now, partially that is due to the fact that this occurred on the freeway, which is going to mean that is the California Highway Patrol's jurisdiction. But because this does involve a crime and an officer-involved shooting, normally what that means is that what we have is every law enforcement officer in the area is going to try to Every law enforcement officer in the area is going to try to respond to the incident just to make sure that the deputy or officer who was involved in the incident is okay, just in case they need backup. As we mentioned, the deputy or officer in this situation, unfortunately, I wasn't able to get that information before I headed out to this incident, so we're just going to go with law enforcement officer. The law enforcement officer who was involved in this incident is all right. So we can infer from there that the person who was shot fatally was the person who was being detained, who then, from initial reports, attempted to flee the scene. Let me go ahead and try to get an update from the KHTS newsroom, so give me just 1 second. My suggestion would be, for this area, you're just going to have to resign yourself to being stuck in southbound traffic, unfortunately. If you have passed Pyramid Lake, I can see going up to about 3 miles away on my left. Going about 3 miles away on my left, traffic is backed up all the way on the Southbound 5 because it is completely stopped. And unfortunately, when it comes to incidents like this, they are going to block it off for as long as possible just to make sure that there's no evidence or anything that has fallen into a different lane that's then going to get run over. That is always a very big issue. We really want to try to make sure that they preserve the scene. Now, we've had a lot of incidents in the past year talking about the investigation of officer-involved shootings and the circumstances related to them, which is partially why our law enforcement is so careful about not only when these shootings occur and trying to prevent them in terms of training, but also the investigation to ensure that what was said happened actually did happen. We don't really have much more information on the fact that we do know that one person is dead, possibly due to initial reports, due to a detainee attempting to flee a law enforcement officer. We do know as of this time that the officer themselves is fine, but unfortunately, that's about it. For those of you who are trying to travel in and out of Santa Clarita, traveling southbound on the 5 is going to be very difficult right now, as you can see from your own screens. And for those of you who are traveling out, northbound 5 looking great. We did have a little bit of an incident earlier on the 14 freeway on the other side of Santa Clarita where a car sparked a brush fire, and then that ended up blocking all lanes of the northbound 14 freeway for some time. So your best bet right now is to my suggestion is try to find alternate routes, do your research, try to see what you can do to plan for incidents like this. Unfortunately, when it comes to the Grapevine, exits are few and far between, as anybody who has traveled north of Santa Clarita can say. So if you have passed that point of no return, my suggestion is turn off your car, resign yourself to having a hangout for a while. Don't keep your car on. We see this a lot when it comes to the Grapevine being closed due to fog or due to snow. This is much the same thing. Turn off your car. Thankfully, it's not too warm of a day today. Just don't, overheat your car. That's going to be something that's really difficult to fix, especially when all lanes of the freeway are blocked. As a matter of fact, I can see people getting out of their cars and walking to the front to try to see what is going on at the incident in front of us. So turn off your car, try to conserve gas, try to keep your car cool so that it doesn't overheat, especially when it comes to these hills. Thankfully, for the Southbound 5, you're already on a down slope for the most of it, but there's not really much you can do at this point. Yeah, if you're stuck in this traffic, my suggestion is get yourself comfortable. Try not to run out of gas for your phone or for your car itself. You're going to be there for a while. We are looking for more information as to what exactly happened. However, this is an ongoing, very developing situation. When it comes to officer-involved shootings, we try to get out here as quickly as possible to try to get you as much information as we can. However, due to the mere nature of the investigation itself, information is going to be very slow coming when it comes to this. Now, let's see what I can see here. Yeah, traffic on the Southbound 5 is at a complete standstill. If at all possible, if you are traveling from Bakersfield, if you are traveling from the 138, try to take surface roads. That's actually how I got over here, was by taking the canyon roads up here. So that is an option if you are trying to travel through the area. If you're an 18-wheeler, unfortunately, I think the 5 might be your only option. I'm sure that there's somebody either A, in the comments, or B, who specifically work with 18-wheelers who might be able to offer you other information. But besides that, your best bet is to just stop at a rest stop and hang out until the issue passes. Now, why do situations like this take so long to clear up? That's a really good question. Now, figure when it comes to anything, any sort of incident that involves a shooting, whether it be officer involved or not, there's going to be a lot of investigation involved. There's witness statements to take from possibly other drivers in the area who may have seen what happened. There's witness statements to take from the officer themselves if the officer survived the incident. Anybody else who may have seen what happened, who were just driving by, who may be stopped to watch, they all have to be stopped. They all have to have their statements taken. Then, not only that, you have to block off the whole freeway to ensure that no evidence has rolled across the lanes. Now, when it comes to a shooting, I don't know how familiar any of you guys are with guns, but when you shoot something, the cartridge for, or not cartridge, but the casing for the bullet itself is going to go flying off somewhere. Now, if it goes flying off into traffic, that can be an issue because that can be a sign of how many bullets were discharged during a shooting. So in order to try to preserve the scene as much as possible, which may have fallen into traffic depending on what had happened during the incident itself while the deputy attempted to subdue the person they were attempting to catch, you really got to just stop all traffic to make sure that there's no bullet casings getting run over, there's no possible blood spatter getting thrown over, there's nothing that can be used to prove or disprove witness statements that can be essentially damaged by just the general traffic of the 5 freeway going by. The 5 freeway is, it's the Golden State Freeway. It stretches all the way from the border to Mexico, where it continues on under another name, all the way up north to Canada, where it continues on under another name. This is a major thoroughfare for trade and travel. So when you're talking about a crime scene that is in such an active, high traffic, place such as this, you really have to shut the whole thing down in order to make sure that you don't end up with a bullet casing traveling all the way up to Canada, or in this case, since it's on the southbound side, all the way halfway through Mexico. So they're just trying to avoid that. And it's not just that. It's not just about preserving the scene. It's about preserving the evidence and trying to get to the truth of what happened, not only for the law enforcement officer that was there, but also for the family of the person who was injured. So just to recap, we're up here in the Grapevine north of Templin Highway and Castaic, where an officer-involved shooting occurred on the Southbound 5 freeway. The entire Southbound 5 is now currently shut down. We're not getting any closer to the incident itself, just so that I can make sure that I can continue staying live for you guys and giving you up-to-the-second updates as to what's going on. According to initial reports, I should mention, once again, initial reports, this has not been confirmed yet. What we heard is that it is possible that a detainee, somebody who had been stopped but not necessarily arrested by a law enforcement officer, managed to escape custody and attempt to run away on foot. We're still working to confirm that back at the KHTS newsroom. Now, thankfully, where I'm standing, I did see a couple of questions about the temperature up here. Where I'm standing, thankfully it's only about 90 degrees and it is not super sunny out, which I am very thankful for. Otherwise, this would be a much, much shorter live for you guys because I'd be dying of heat exhaustion. But what we have going on out here is an officer-involved shooting on the Southbound 5 freeway north of. If you are traveling through the area, please try to find another route. It is not ideal, but there are several older canyon roads that are possible for use for private vehicles. So I wouldn't suggest, taking your 18-wheeler up there, but if you have a little sedan or if you have an SUV and you really, really need to get down to go to SeaWorld over in San Diego, you can take these side roads. I just really suggest that everybody, please, we've already had one incident today dealing with bad crashes. I would really prefer not to have to go straight from this shooting to a fatal crash. So please try to watch your speed, watch your driving. It gets very twisty up here. I'm going to go ahead and end this live for just the moment, just so I can try to get you guys some better service and a better feed. Thank you all very much for joining us. You can go ahead and head on over to our website at hometownstation.com. Tune on in to KHTS radio at 98.1 FM and AM 1220. We'll be offering updates on this incident from there as well. You can also follow us on social media. If you're not already following our Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, you can hit us up on KHTS radio. You can also sign up for our text alerts. We'll be able to tell you that, when the freeway closes down, when the freeway opens up, we'll send out those text alerts to try to help you guys plan and know at least, if you're 4 or 5 miles back in this backup, hey, they've started opening up lanes. So please do that. Head on over to our website, sign up for our newsletter, sign up for our text alerts so that you don't get caught in this traffic by surprise. Thank you all very much for joining us. I'll be back with another live. This is Jade Abishon signing off.